All right, and let's move on to the Western Conference Finals. Obviously, like I said, this one's a little more complicated due to the 1 and 8 seed, due to the fact that it's a play-in game. Obviously, that's what it's going to be, no matter what, whether it's the Grizzlies in Portland or whether it's the Grizzlies and the Phoenix Suns. Obviously, I think both of us, we've kind of talked in our group chat with our friends. We want the Suns to win because I think like you, I'm just going to speak for myself. We're tired of the Damian Lillard getting to the playoffs and not really doing anything. I know that he's a great player. I'm not taking anything away from Damian Lillard, but every time I see him play and every time it's in a clutch game, whether it was with the Golden State Warriors last year, we saw them have leads, we saw them be within games, and they blew the lead every time, and that's why they got swept.
Yeah, exactly. I feel the same way. I've seen it happen year and year. It was to the Warriors a couple times, and I know they were a great team, but the Blazers were, to be honest, I don't think they should have been in that position to begin with last year. If, Paul George plays like Paul George and Roberson comes back from injury, they would have lost to OKC in the first round.
Mm-hmm.
And then they played a young Nuggets team that, excuse me, almost lost to the Spurs in 7 and should have lost to the Spurs. That Nuggets team wasn't ready and they weren't experienced. So they kind of got a lucky path to the Western Conference Finals. Everybody wants to act like that path, and them getting to the Western Conference Finals made them as good as a team like that, but they weren't actually that good. So I'd rather see the Phoenix Suns play the bubble.
True. I mean, they are undefeated in the bubble, and you're curious to see if the Blazers lose tonight. Obviously, we're recording this at 4:20 Pacific time, so obviously the games haven't even started yet. I think it starts in either an hour or 2 hours. So we won't know the series, but let's talk about if the Blazers do make it, in case, so I can edit this part out or whatever happens here. So let's say it is the Blazers. If we have the Grizzlies and the Blazers, are you doing the same thing? You're having the Blazers over the. I think if that's the case, I think the Blazers win. Obviously.
I definitely have the Blazers over them. I just don't think the Grizzlies as a team are good enough without Jaren Jackson Jr.
I mean, I like Brandon Clark. I think he's a great player. He's actually done a really good job for them. Obviously, Grayson Allen is Grayson Allen. He'll do his
He
thing.
found his jumper, at least,
Yeah,
kind of.
he's kind of found his niche in Memphis, where before in Utah he was kind of out of place, I felt like. So it was good to see that he made the team for Memphis and actually doing his thing. But like you, I think it's going to be the Blazers if that's the case, just due to the fact that they're a more experienced team. They have guys like CJ, they have guys like Dame. They have their whole team basically back from injury and from whatnot. So I think if that's the case, it's going to be the Blazers. But nevertheless, let's move on to, this is going to be a loss either way. The Lakers versus whoever.
Exactly. Yeah.
I think the bigger question that we should talk about, not whether it's going to be the Grizzlies, the Suns, or the Blazers, but, can the Lakers get out of this funk that they're in? I know that we talk about switches all the time, that teams can switch their intensity on and off, but what do you make of the Lakers' kind of recent struggles, I would say? And, the next team we'll talk about also has kind of those struggles as well in the bubble. But what do you make of the Lakers right now and where they're at?
Yeah. Every LeBron team going to the playoffs has struggled, so I'm not too worried about their struggles right now. And I think the last game they played in the bubble was really a good way to tie up the bubble. They ran that play for Kuz, gave him a lot of confidence. He hit the shot. So, yeah, they were kind of, trudging along, but they hadn't played basketball in how many months. So they were trying to pick it up and get into playoff intensity, which I did see LeBron do the last 3 games. He really picked it up. I think we helped AD get his confidence back more towards the end of the last game, and now he knows, like, going into the playoffs, I have to dominate. But he's done that historically in his career, so I think they'll be fine, honestly. I just don't want to see Rondo have 20 minutes dribbling the ball every night.
Yeah, I think for me, the Lakers, they're gonna have to find their shooting sleeves or whatever it is that is gonna make them hit shots, because right now they're abysmal right now from their role players. I mean, we're also gonna need Anthony Davis when he's struggling in some games. You're just gonna need to kind of get the ball into him and force some shots. I know
Yeah.
he kind of has that like LeBron-itis sometimes where. He doesn't want to like overimpose his will in a game. He would rather, pass the ball out. But he's more effective when he's taking, going to the rim and attacking or shooting the jump shot. So that way it opens up lanes for the other guys to get those open looks. kind of like LeBron James in a sense. So I think Anthony Davis, the key for him is going to be attack, attack, attack. Get your shots in so that way you're allowing your role players to get open looks. And they're going to have to knock it down. I mean, obviously, KCP had a little bit of a better performance these last couple games compared to when he started. J.R. Smith and Dion Waiters, don't know really what to make of them.
Dion can be a good playmaker when he's looking to pass, but he has times where he just
Tunnel vision.
doesn't. Yeah, huge tunnel vision. So that's when he's bad, Dion. But when he's trying to score, but also being a willing passer, that's a very good Dion to see. I've seen him make some great him and AD pick and roll is nice because teams have to play his jump shot, teams have to play his drive, and he'll just dish to AD. AD's wide open every time.
Yeah.
But JR, oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I love to listen to some JR, the hen god.
It hasn't looked too good so far for my guy, but I believe in him. I saw a stat actually that he's first. He's first in threes made in the finals. So I think shooting doesn't go away. Something that's like that deeply ingrained, you can get back. It's like riding a bike. I'm hoping he hits timely shots, and I'm not expecting him to play 30 minutes a night. Just come in, hit one shot here, hit another shot there. That's all we need from you, and good defense.
Exactly. And, we'll continue to talk about the Lakers as we kind of move on to the conference finals and the semifinals and the finals and the NBA finals. But let's talk about, really quick, another team that's kind of struggled here and there. Obviously, it's not as pointed out because obviously the Lakers are the number one talking point and they are the number one team in LA just based on popularity and fan base. And that's going to be the Clippers versus the Mavericks. This one to me, I think is going to be a little bit obvious. At least for me, I have the Clippers winning this in a gentleman's sweep. Just due to the fact that, I've watched the Mavericks play in these bubble games, and every time they've gotten big leads, and it just seems that they really don't know how to close a game. I mean, they play some beautiful basketball. We see them up so much, and then all of a sudden, they're losing games. And I don't understand it, especially, with a young guy in Luka who's 21. Obviously, a lot of people like to bring up the age factor, but he needs to start playing and acting like a 21-year-old because right now I'm not impressed with his game right now. I love him. I think that when the draft came out, I was a big fan of him. I love the way he is, but I think he's going to need to mature a little bit more and kind of figure out his game to get other people involved and not just take step back threes, because that's what I see. He seems to be doing the James Harden approach every time. So I don't know if he's been practicing or learning from James Harden. I don't know if they have a secret summer house that they go to learn the game from one another, but that's what it just seems like to me, is that, that's what it's going to be. But just to kind of harp on the Clippers before I let you go, Brad, the Clippers, to me, obviously, are struggling a bit, but I'm thinking they're starting to find their way. Kawhi's starting to get to the basket. They're attacking more. And I think it's going to be a fun series if we can get the Clippers and the Lakers in the conference finals, but we'll kind of keep talking about these teams as they continue to move forward.
Yeah. I think I agree with you. The Mavs, I love watching them play. Historically good offense. It's crazy. First ever in NBA history. But they can't close games, and I attribute that to most of their team being young. They don't really have any vets that can, reliable vets that can make a good play, be clutch, hit big shots. And Luka is, I hate watching him in the clutch. I love watching him during games. Every time I see the Mavs playing, I want to watch. But in the clutch, I hate watching Luka. It's like watching an LA Fitness player. It's literally like watching someone at LA Fitness play when it's crunch time. Like, they have the ball and they're going to throw up a step back three or sidestep three. And it's crazy. Like, I know Luka wants to be the superstar, wants all the flashiness, wants all the fame, and he has it. But so pass the ball, man. I need him to. He has the vision to pass the ball. We've seen it. He has games where he has 19 assists. But in crunch time, he thinks, okay, showtime, I'm shooting, instead of let me see if I can get a shot. If not, let me create for my teammate, get them an open shot. He has all the offensive skills to be able to get someone open, just trying to be aggressive, but he never looks. He's going to shoot it if you triple team him. So I think that's why they're bad in the clutch.
Yeah. And I think another point to that is also KCP, or sorry, Kristaps Porzingis. I don't know why I said KCP. Kristaps Porzingis, I think he needs to step up. There was big talk of him, packing on the muscle, looking strong and physical. But then when you watch him play, he doesn't act like that. And I think I'm going to need him to step up in that aspect because I haven't really. There's some times where I'm like, that's the Kristaps Porzingis that the New York Knicks drafted. That's the reason why they got him. And then there's other times it's like, why did the Dallas Mavericks even trade for him? And so he's going to need to be more consistent in his game in order for the Dallas Mavericks to make it far. I know that they're a young team. I'm not expecting them to be NBA finals contenders in year two of this kind of rebuild project that they got going on with Luka and Kristaps. But I'm expecting a little bit better from him, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, yeah. I think some of that also goes to his confidence when he plays with Luca. He kind of defers a lot to Luca. He's just like, oh, Luca has the ball. I'm going to stand in the corner. When he needs to be more aggressive, call for the ball more. I've seen times where he's 7'3", and I've seen times where somebody 6'3" is guarding him, and he's in the post. He doesn't call for the ball. So, bro, what are you doing? Uh, but also to your thing about him packing on muscle, he actually lost weight. He went back to the Dallas training staff and he told them, I don't like this. I feel like I can't shoot. My arms are stiff. So he dropped a bunch of weight so he could shoot quicker.
Is it like a meathead at LA Fitness, just kind of shoot? Well, if you've ever seen like, I don't know if you guys have ever at LA Fitness or whatever, if you've seen like a dude that's like physically strong with a ton of muscle just shoot the ball, it looks so stiff, and you don't even know how they got their arms up to even get the jumper off.
Yeah. Although he is 7'3", he has the build for it. I think he should have kept the muscle. I think it would have helped his game because he can't just, you're 7'3", you got to use your size. You can't be out here running out around the 3-point line, jacking up threes all game. At some point, you have to get in the post and expose a mismatch.
And let's move on to our next series. Of course, this one's a little more interesting as well. We have the Denver Nuggets with the Joker leading the charge, Skinny Joker, and we also have the Utah Jazz with the two tandems of Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert. Seems that relationship is, it's working so far until, we see an outburst at some point. But what do you make of this Jazz Nuggets series? Do you expect it to be interesting or do you expect it to be kind of a sweep as well?
Nah, it's going to be a sweep. I got the Nuggets in 5.
Oh,
The
okay.
Jazz they're they're missing Bogdanovich or
Yeah.
Boyan Bogdanovich. And he was averaging close to 28 or something for them this season. Or not 28, 22. He was averaging 22 for them this season. But he's their biggest scoring punch besides Jordan Clarkson off the bench. Donovan Mitchell is a good playoff player that we've seen, but I think against the Nuggets, good defense with Will Barton, Torrey Craig, they have lockdown perimeter defense. I don't think he'll be able to average 30 against that team. And Jokic abuses Gobert whenever they play. He's just too smart, too big. He can shoot, and he draws Gobert away from the paint. I got the Nuggets in 5.
Yeah, I think for this one, I also have the Nuggets. Even though I think this will actually be a close series, I think it'll be a 7-game series. I think that it'll be competitive. I think the Denver Nuggets are still a young team. Obviously, they've added guys like Michael Porter Jr., who's finally healthy to play. They added Bol, who's also an interesting prospect as well. I remember watching him in Oregon when our team went to team camp. I liked his game then, and I like it now. And I think that it'll be interesting because I think the Jazz. I think Snyder's got something up his sleeve. I think that he's got some.
Emmanuel Mudiay?
I, I mean, I understand that the Jazz right now aren't glamorous in that aspect, but I think Michael Conley will step up his game. I know he's been kind of disappointing at best for the Utah Jazz. I think that right now he's just kind of in a shooting slump, even though he won the virtual 3-point contest for the NBA when we were all shut down in quarantine. Lockdown hard. But I think that the Jazz have the ability to make it to 7 games. I think Donovan Mitchell, I like the way that he plays. I think Rudy Gobert is also someone, even though he gets bullied by the Joker, I think he still can hold his own. But I think this just comes down to the Joker being able to make those passes that I've rarely see in a big man. The ability to kind of find passing lanes that you were like, where did this guy even make a passing lane here? And I think that the Joker has that ability, and I think that with Michael Porter finally getting better, and you also have guys like Jamal Murray, if he's not doing his thing on Instagram,
Oh
Um,
my gosh.
if he can just focus on the game, I think he'll be fine. But I think, like you said, I like the Denver Nuggets, and I think that with the Joker and I'm not sure when Gary Harris is coming back. I haven't seen him play in a while.
Yeah, he's
Uh,
been out for a while.
so
And I
I'm
don't think they have a timetable for him either.
so I don't. I'm not sure what's going to happen with him, but I think the Denver Nuggets are going to win this in 7 games.
Yeah. I do want to shout out Emmanuel Mudiay, actually. He's Congolese, so I mess with him. And he's been good for the Jazz this season, actually. He has. I've been
Yeah,
watching
I
him.
know
I
he
watch him
has.
all the time.
He has been good, and I'm glad that he's. I think New York is just. That's a different video for a different day. The New York Knicks franchise, I was going to make a documentary series on them, just for how
Oh my
bad they've
gosh.
been in that aspect. But let's move on to the other playoff series that I think is going to be a fun one to watch, and that's of course the Thunder and the Rockets. What seems like an ongoing saga, better than the Cavs and the Warriors at times, where it's just these two teams seem to always face each other. Um, what do you make of this Thunder Rocket series? Who are you liking in this? I know you're a big CP3 fan. If you want to show off the jersey, show it off.
That's why I didn't say anything when we were talking about the Clippers. All right, guys, this isn't for the Clippers. This is for Chris Paul. It's number 3. He's going to decimate the Rockets in this playoff matchup. They don't have anybody that can guard him. Russ is out for a couple of games now, so they're really in trouble. Chris will pick apart that team and that terrible small ball.
I think I'm gonna go opposite. I'm gonna go with the Rockets on this one. What I like about the Rockets is I think their small ball has been working. I know a lot of us have made fun of it, but they have been winning. Obviously, it's caveat to Russell Westbrook playing in those games, getting big rebounds because he's a big contributor in that aspect to their rebounding. But I like the fact that it allows James Harden to kind of play his game. It's not the prettiest game, it's not the most fun game to watch, but he's very effective in his game, his ability to drive, gets fouls. I mean, I'll be very interested to see if those same foul calls get called in the playoffs because we all know the story. They don't. But
Because
I'm
they're not
curious.
fouls.
Uh, you know, I'm not here to debate that, but yeah, sometimes they aren't. But I'm curious to see, like, can James Harden and the Rockets shoot enough threes to win them their games? I think, there's rumors of Mike D'Antoni not re-signing with them. Maybe he might move on to a different challenge, or he might just retire because he's taken this team as far as he could, almost to an NBA Finals. But it is what it is. But I have the Rockets in this series.
I don't know how, especially with Russ out, but I think it'll definitely be a good series. I'm super excited for it. I do think Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is going to show out.
He will. I like his game. I think he's on that list for most improved. I think he should be at least. I like the way that he's been playing. But let's move on to the next part of the series, and that's, of course, going to be let's move on to the Clippers and the Nuggets, which we both have in this aspect. To me, this one is going to be easy. I have the Clippers winning in 6 games.
I agree with that. I would agree with that. I don't think it goes 7. It possibly could even be a gentleman's sweep.
Yeah, I mean, I just think that the fact that the Clippers have Kawhi, they have Paul George, hopefully, they have Lemon Pepper Lou Will. You know, now that he's done at Magic City, we'll see what happens there. All right, guys, and let's move on to the next series where we have the Lakers going against either the Thunder or the Rockets. But I think, Brad, it's going to be the same result. Both of us are probably going to have the Lakers in this one, right?
Oh yeah, Lakers for sure. I could see OKC taking off 2 games from them. They have a really good, bunch of role players. They have really good defense. Billy Donovan is a good coach. Chris Paul. So I think they could take 2 games off the Lakers, but Lakers win that easy.
Yeah, I just think that LeBron James is going to go into a different playoff mode this year. I know that he kind of went, dark 0-30 last year and it didn't work out for him. But I just think that this year it's a little bit different. I think this year, with the addition of AD, with the addition of the role players that they have, obviously it sucks that Avery Bradley isn't there because he would add a tremendous value defensively and also three-point shooting wise to their team. But what I like about them is the fact that they have some players that can play as well. I mean, if Kuzma can really step up and be the Kuzma that can average, 20 point, 18 to 20 points a game, if Kuzma can give them that consistently and is able to hit his 3 consistently. The only problem I have with Kuzma is his defense. There's times where there's some mental lapses
Been
there.
good lately.
It has been good lately, but you're going to need that consistently. And I think
Yeah.
that due to the fact that he hit the game-winning shot against the Nuggets, which I think that game was more of a um, psychological game to win. I think they don't really care about the result of that. It was just more psychological for them to play good, play well together, and because they hit that game-winning shot, I think it adds more confidence and trust with each and individual player. I like the fact in the stories that I've heard that the Lakers have been kind of the most family-oriented team in terms of they do everything together. You know, LeBron James doesn't have his personal chef there. He doesn't have any of the equipment that keeps him young. You know, he spends $1 million on his body. It keeps him like he's a 20-year-old,
The GOAT.
the goat. But I just like the fact that he's being one of the boys, right? A lot of people kind of, especially when the bubble was first come into place. You know, Austin Rivers talked about him living in like this secure area where he gets the whole building, but that's probably not true. I mean, unless every superstar gets that, I don't know how you determine that. But
I
never,
mean, I could see it. He's LeBron. I could see it.
maybe
I,
Adam Silver gives him the penthouse suite.
I could. He's LeBron, bro. He runs the league. I could see it.
But nevertheless, he's been one of the boys this bubble series or in this bubble environment. So I think that the Lakers have more camaraderie, and I think that a lot of people kind of like to equivalent the Lakers to fool's gold just due to the fact that they've been losing in the bubble.
I
But
think that was the funniest take from like Skip Bayless.
I mean, what do you make of when people say that? I mean, is it just kind of like are they?
I It's honestly just people wanting to see Bron fail. I think that's what it is. LeBron is on that team, so now they're fool's gold. He went from the easy conference, and he was in the East, and it was the easy conference. Went to the West, and now he's the 1 seed, but they're fool's gold. It's just because LeBron's on the team and some false narrative. They're trying to create a story.
Yeah, I just think that the Lakers have. I know that before even the pandemic shut everything down, the Lakers were on a roll. They won 2 games against the Bucks and the Clippers, and that was going to be kind of the momentum carrying them forward. And obviously, when you stop playing basketball, when everything just comes to a halt and you're off for 2 or 3 months, like obviously you're not going to be in your tip-top shape. I mean, the younger teams are probably going to be more likely to win, and probably the middle of the pack teams are going to win more just because of the fact that they're not there's no expectations on them. But I think that the Lakers have an older team. It's going to take them a little bit longer to get going. But I think that the Lakers will be ready for the playoff series. They will be ready for the Thunder Rockets series, whoever it's going to be. And I think that they're going to win, and they're going to be facing the LA Clippers in the conference finals, which is going to be our next thing that we're going to move on to. Brad, this is, of course, going to be a huge one. I think this is probably going to be the NBA's biggest ratings draw in a while. I think maybe even bigger than the Clippers the Warriors and the Cavs series. What do you make of this series if it goes this way?
I definitely think you'll draw in more ratings than the Warriors Cavs just because it's actually competitive. So like purposely competitive, not just LeBron carrying his team.
Mm-hmm.
But I think this will go to the Lakers. I think the Lakers have too many weapons and they have better team chemistry. The Clippers have a bunch of young guys like Landry Shamet that they have to rely on to have a big game. Zubac too, who was getting benched a lot in the regular season, but since the bubble started has been getting a bunch of minutes. Like Lou Williams gets exposed every time they play the Lakers. He's a defensive liability, and LeBron hunts him out. And that is how they beat him in that game before the shutdown, before the pandemic. He just hunted out Lou Williams and exposed him every time. So I think I'm going to go with the Lakers on that one. I also don't trust playoff P in a playoff series, especially in a playoff series to go to the finals. No.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with you. I think this is going to go 7 games, and I think it's going to go to the Lakers. I think that playoff P or push-off P, whatever P you want to make him, PG-13, pandemic P, whatever P you want to make him. Like I just don't trust him in the playoffs in any type of situation. I think that he is a great player. I think he's very good, but there's times where I think this is a psychological game. The playoffs are very psychological. LeBron James has the mental fortitude to, endure these long playoff series. And I just don't think that Paul George does. I think Paul George has at times, mentally lapsed. I mean, we saw that against the Utah Jazz. We've seen them when he was in Indiana against the Heat. I think there's times where Paul George kind of shrinks and gets smaller than mini me, like Stephen A. likes to say about LeBron James back in the 2011 NBA Finals. I
Oh my
think that
gosh.
I just don't trust him there, and I think that Kawhi Leonard is going to need a second star, and I don't think that Kawhi is going to get that second star. Obviously, you
Yeah.
have Patrick Beverly talking his mouth, yelling at Jokic last night at the game, about some missed free throws. I think he's going to be a guy that also is going to get exposed a little bit. They don't have Montrez, which is a huge loss to me. I think he's one of their good role players. I don't know if
He's back. He's back.
is he back for the playoffs? He just decided not to play the regular season.
He had some personal family stuff. I think someone in his family died.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah, yeah. But he's back. I saw he's back in the bubble, and he's been like quarantining. Yeah,
That's good because like to me, if he wasn't playing in that series, I think they would be in huge trouble. But the fact that he's there is going to change a little bit. They're going to definitely need his rebounding, his energy, and his hustle. And I think that he's going to provide that. But it's going to be the other guys, like you said, Lou Will, obviously a six man of the year candidate and won it before. I just don't think that he's like you said. They hunt him down every time they get him. They try to pick and roll their way to find him and then attack him. And I think that you're going to see that again and again. And I just think that
maybe.
LeBron James and AD they're too much. I think they're going to be too much for the Clippers to overcome. And I think I'm going to have the Lakers in the NBA Finals.
Yep. Yep.
And
I
so
do
this,
think.
oh, what's
Oh,
that?
go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say. I think after this, the Clippers will after this series, after they lose, they're going to try and make a big move for another star. They're going to trade Paul George and Montrezl.
Ooh, okay. You heard it here first, guys. We got a big trade coming if the Clippers lose this series. But let's move on to the NBA Finals, talking about this 2020 playoff bubble bracket. I'm going to be having the Lakers and the Celtics like the old days. This is always a huge ratings draw. Brad, you're going to have the Raptors and the Lakers in a very interesting matchup. I don't think we've never seen before because the Raptors haven't gone to the finals until last year. Who do you have winning this series? I mean, mine's going to be a little bit different just due to the fact that they're both going to be different, right? Because, it's going to be the Lakers versus some really good team-oriented basketball playing teams. Who do you have winning the series?
It's tough. I think it's going to go 7 games, but I got to go with my Lakers. I trust LeBron. I trust him to show up in the playoffs and execute and perform, show up in the clutch. I trust AD. He's going to be aggressive. I got the Lakers in 7.
Oof. I'm in agreement with you. I mean, this is going to be a tough series to call. I love my Boston Celtics. I think that they're ready for it, but I just think that LeBron James is going to win his next championship with them, with Lakers, and it's going to be a big one. I think that what I like about the Lakers is that they have LeBron James who can play the power forward and the point guard position. I think that Frank Vogel is getting at the beginning of the season I kind of questioned the hire, but after watching some of the games, obviously his rotations are a little bit suspect sometimes.
Yeah.
But after watching him and coach and other things like that, a lot of us kind of were rumored that Jason Kidd was going to take over if Frank Vogel was sucking. And that was going to lead LeBron James and AD to just have Jason Kidd as their coach. But I like what Frank Vogel does as a coach. He's not flashy. He doesn't outshine anybody. And I think the Lakers, to me, have the capability of winning. I mean, the role players are going to do very good. If Kuzma can do his thing, I think it's going to come down to the role players. And I think the role players are getting their shooting slump out of the way. So now that they're in the finals, they can start knocking down threes. And I think they're going to knock down more threes than the Celtics, and that's how they're going to win the game. In 7.
I will say Danny Green always hits big shots. Like in his career, he hits, even if he's broken the regular season and people want to hate on him, Danny shows up when it matters.
He does. And I think one thing that I'm going to have to bring up, and I know I might get a little flack for this, is that I think Caruso has to play less minutes. I like his game. I like what he is, but I think that now that teams have scouted him, they've done their research on him, he's getting exposed a little bit out there on defense. And so I think he needs to get some reduced minutes to kind of that hustle player minutes. So that way, they don't overuse him. And I know a lot of people are clamoring for him to get more minutes and to play, but I think you're going to have to wait till next season when he improves his game a little bit more. But I just think they need to play him less so that way they don't have a liability on defense.
I agree to an extent. I don't think he's been a liability on defense just because he's a good defender. You know, he's like 6'5", he's pretty big, he's quick, he has good instincts. But his defense certainly hasn't been what it was in the regular season lately. And he's been abysmal on offense. So that's why I would say he needs to get less minutes. I don't think he made a bubble, or I don't think he made a three the whole time in the bubble, you know? And then he doesn't have very good drives. He can't really dribble, so his playmaking is kind of limited. A lot of the passes and assists he gets are off steals and quick up the floor assists or something like that. And sometimes he has some good vision, lob to AD or something. But, yeah, I think some of his minutes need to go to either Markieff Morris or Dion Waiters.
Ooh, I think I'm going to have to go Markieff on that one.
I would go Markieff. Markieff needs to play a lot more. He's 6'9". He's a good two-way wing. He plays defense. He can hit the three. I think Frank Vogel really needs to play him more. I was kind of disappointed that he didn't play him in the bubble.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with you. I think he does need to play more. I like the fact that he stretches the floor. But nevertheless, Brad, we both have the Lakers winning the NBA championship this season. Obviously, this is going to be a huge thing for the Lakers if they can. This is going to make Lakers, the talk of the town again. And do you have any final words to say before we sign off here?
The Rockets are going to regret trading Chris Paul.
Ooh.
I think they already regret it, but they're going to regret it even more after he mollywops them in the playoffs this season. And then they fire their coach, fire their GM, and start everything over.
Another trust the process. Hopefully it doesn't take as long in the 76ers because they're still building since 2009. But nevertheless, guys, that is going to be it for our playoffs prediction. This has been your boy Bernie. This has also been Brad here. Thanks again, Brad, for joining us on the channel.
Great to be back.
We're going to have to need you for some more topics, especially as the NBA offseason comes along and we got some trade rumors. We got some NBA kind of news and rumors and also basketball opinions. But anyway, guys, that's going to do it here for the video. Brad, do you have anything to say before we sign off?
Lakers in 7. NBA champions coming up.
All right, guys, you heard it here first from Brad. Lakers in 7. Let us know in the comment section down below, who do you guys think will win the NBA playoffs? Will it be the Lakers? Will it be the Bucks, Raptors, Celtics, Clippers? It doesn't matter who it's going to be. It's going to be a fun series to watch. We're going to see a lot of great basketball. We're going to see the bubble actually have a couple of fans in there due to the guests being allowed to come in. Not sure if they're able to watch the games. Hopefully they are, so they can at least create some fan noise. But let us know in the comment section down below. Like I said, who do you guys think is going to win the NBA Finals? But anyway, guys, this has been your boy Bernie. This is Brad, and we'll catch you on the next video. Peace.
Peace.